Captain Jake Morrison sat in his chair on the bridge of the New Horizon and watched the stars move past the main screen. The ship was 3 days into what should be a simple cargo run to Haven Prime, a small farming colony on the edge of human space. Jake had made this trip dozens of times before, and it always went the same way. Load up the cargo holds with farming equipment and seeds, fly to the colony, unload everything, and fly back home with payment credits. The New Horizon looked like any other cargo freighter that moved goods between the inner worlds and the frontier colonies. Her hull was painted in the standard white and blue colors that most shipping companies used. The ship was about 200 meters long, with large cargo holds taking up most of the space. From the outside, anyone could see that this was a working ship built for moving things from one place to another, not for fighting wars or exploring strange new worlds. Lisa Parker was sitting at the navigation station checking their course for the 100th time that day. She was a good navigator who had been working cargo runs for almost 10 years. Lisa kept her brown hair tied back in a simple ponytail and wore the same blue jumpsuit that all the crew members used as their work clothes. She looked up from her console and spoke to Jake. "Captain, we should reach Haven Prime in about 18 hours if we keep this speed," she said. "The route is clear according to all the navigation charts, and there are no storms or other problems reported in this area." Jake nodded and looked over at Ben Hughes, who was standing near the engineering console. Ben was a big man with thick arms from years of working with heavy machinery. He had joined the crew 6 months ago and was one of the best engineers Jake had ever worked with. Ben could fix almost anything that broke on a ship, and he was always finding ways to make the engines run better. "How are the engines running, Ben?" Jake asked. Ben wiped his hands on a dirty cloth and smiled. "They are running real good, Captain. I finished those modifications I was telling you about last week. The power output is much better now, and the fuel efficiency has gone up by about 12%. "What kind of modifications?" asked Amy Davis from the communications station. Amy was the youngest member of the crew at only 23 years old. She had bright red hair and was always curious about how everything on the ship worked. She handled all the radio calls and kept track of shipping schedules and cargo manifests. Ben looked a little uncomfortable when Amy asked about his work. "Just some improvements to the power distribution system," he said. "Nothing too fancy. Just making sure everything runs smooth." Jake noticed that Ben did not want to talk more about his engine work, but he did not push the issue. Good engineers always had their own ways of doing things, and Jake trusted Ben to keep the ship running properly. Amy turned back to her console and checked the latest news reports from the shipping networks. Her job was to monitor all communications and make sure they knew about any problems or changes in their route. She frowned as she read through several messages. "Captain, I am seeing some reports about pirate activity in this sector," Amy said. 3 cargo ships have been attacked in the last 2 weeks. The pirates seem to be targeting ships carrying valuable cargo." Lisa looked worried when she heard this news. "Should we change our route to avoid the areas where the attacks happened?" she asked. Jake thought about this for a moment. Changing their route would add at least 2 days to the trip, and the colony was expecting their cargo to arrive on schedule. The farming season was starting soon, and the colonists needed the seeds and equipment that the New Horizon was carrying. "What kind of cargo were the other ships carrying?" Jake asked Amy. Amy checked her files and read the reports. One ship was carrying rare metals from the mining worlds. Another had luxury goods and electronics. The third one was transporting medical supplies and computer equipment. Jake relaxed a little when he heard this. "Our cargo is just farming. "Equipment and seeds," he said. "Tractors, plows, irrigation systems, and bags of grain seeds. Nothing that pirates would want to steal. They cannot sell farming equipment for much money, and seeds are not worth anything unless you have a farm to plant them on." Ben laughed and shook his head. "Pirates are not going to waste their time stealing tomato seeds and corn planters. They want valuable stuff they can sell quickly for good money." Lisa still looked worried, but she nodded. "I guess you are right, but maybe we should be extra careful anyway. Pirates sometimes attack ships just to take whatever they can find." "We will keep our eyes open," Jake said. "But I think we will be fine. The New Horizon is not carrying anything worth fighting over." Amy went back to monitoring the communications channels, while Lisa continued checking their navigation. Ben returned to the engineering section to work on his mysterious modifications. Jake stayed on the bridge and watched the stars. The truth was that Jake was not as calm as he appeared to be. He had heard the same reports about pirate attacks, and he knew that pirates sometimes attacked ships even when the cargo was not valuable. Sometimes they attacked ships just to prove they could do it, or to send a message to other ships in the area. Jake also knew something that his crew did not know. The New Horizon was not exactly what she appeared to be. The ship looked like an ordinary cargo freighter, but there were some special features hidden beneath the normal exterior. These features were part of a program that the human government used to protect shipping lanes from pirates and other threats. But Jake hoped they would not need to use those special features on this trip. It would be much better if they could just deliver their cargo and return home without any trouble. Pirates were unpredictable and dangerous even when you had ways to fight them. The best situation was to avoid pirates completely. The ship continued flying through space toward Haven Prime, while the crew went about their normal duties. Everything seemed peaceful and quiet. The cargo holds were full of farming equipment that would help the colonists grow food and build their community. The engines were running smoothly thanks to Ben's improvements. The navigation system showed a clear path to their destination, but in the dark space between the stars, other ships were moving and watching, ships with different intentions and different ideas about who owned the cargo that peaceful freighters were carrying to frontier colonies. The alarm bells started ringing on the bridge of the New Horizon, just as Jake was finishing his morning coffee. Amy looked up from her communications console with wide eyes, and her face had gone pale. "Captain, we have a ship dropping out of hyperspace right in front of us," she said. "It just appeared about 5 kilometers ahead, and it is blocking our path." Jake quickly moved to his captain's chair and looked at the main screen. The ship that had appeared was much smaller than the New Horizon, but it looked mean and dangerous. The hull was painted black with red markings, and Jake could see weapon ports along the sides. This was definitely not a friendly cargo ship or a patrol vessel from the human fleet. "Lisa, full stop," Jake ordered. "Amy, try to contact them and see what they want." Lisa's hands moved quickly over her navigation controls, and the New Horizon began to slow down. The engines made a different sound as they switched from forward thrust to braking mode. Ben's voice came over the intercom from the engineering section. "Captain, why are we stopping?" Ben asked. "The engines are running fine, and we are still several hours away from Haven Prime." "We have visitors," Jake said into the intercom. "Stay ready down there." Amy opened a communication channel to the unknown ship. "Unknown vessel, this is the cargo freighter New Horizon. Please identify yourself and state your intentions." The answer came back immediately, and it was not friendly. The voice that spoke had a harsh accent and sounded like it came from a reptilian throat. Jake recognized it as the language of the Catherians, a species known for being aggressive and territorial. "Human ship, this is Captain Vextar of the Blood Talon. You will prepare to be boarded immediately. Do not attempt to run or fight back." Transfer all your cargo to our ship and we will let you live." Jake sighed and shook his head. Pirates were always the same no matter what species they came from. They thought that threats and loud voices would make everyone afraid and willing to give up without a fight. "Amy, open a channel back to them," Jake said. When Amy nodded that the channel was open, Jake spoke in a calm and friendly voice. "Captain Vextar, I appreciate you telling us your intentions so clearly. However, I am obligated to warn you that attacking a human vessel is generally considered a poor life choice in this galaxy. Are you certain you want to proceed with this course of action?" There was silence for a few seconds, and then harsh laughter came through the speakers. "Poor life choice?" Vexatar said. "Human, your ship is old and weak. We have scanned your vessel and you have only basic defensive systems. Your cargo manifest shows farming equipment and seeds. You are helpless and we are taking everything you have." Jake looked at Lisa, who was quietly working at her navigation console. She was not plotting an escape route like most navigators would do in this situation. Instead, she was running what looked like targeting calculations and positioning data. "Ben," Jake said into the intercom, "begin emergency engine shutdown procedures." Amy looked confused when she heard this order. Emergency engine shutdown would leave them sitting still in space with no way to run from the pirates. But Ben's voice came back immediately. "Understood, Captain. Beginning emergency procedures now." Through the bridge windows, Jake could see the pirate ship moving closer to them. The Blood Talon was about half the size of the New Horizon, but it bristled with weapons. Laser cannons, missile launchers, and what looked like boarding equipment were visible on the hull. "Amy, send our standard distress signal," Jake ordered. Amy's fingers moved over her console, and she activated what appeared to be a normal emergency beacon that cargo ships used when they were in trouble. The beacon would supposedly alert any nearby ships that the New Horizon needed help, but Jake knew that the beacon was not exactly what it appeared to be, just like many other things on his ship. Captain Vextar's voice came through the speakers again. "Human Captain, you have 30 seconds to lower your shields and prepare for boarding. If you do not comply, we will disable your engines and take your cargo anyway. You can cooperate and live, or resist and die." "I understand your position," Jake replied, "but I really must insist that you reconsider. You were warned about the consequences of attacking human ships. Don't say we didn't caution you about what might happen." The pirate captain made an angry sound. "Enough talking. Skaroth, disable their engines." Jake watched on the main screen as the Blood Talon's weapons began to glow with charging energy. The pirates were about to fire on the New Horizon, and there was no more time for warnings or conversation. "Lisa, are you ready?" Jake asked quietly. "Positioning is optimal, Captain," Lisa replied without looking up from her console. "Ben, how are those emergency procedures coming?" "All systems are prepared for emergency activation, Captain," Ben's voice said through the intercom. "Amy, is our beacon working properly?" "Signal is broadcasting on all frequencies, Captain," Amy said with a small smile. The weapons on the Blood Talon fired, and beams of red energy struck the New Horizon's shields. Jake expected to feel the ship shake from the impact, but instead the bridge remained perfectly steady. The shields absorbed the pirate weapons without any problem at all. Captain Vexistar's voice sounded surprised when he spoke again. "What kind of shields are those? Our weapons should have penetrated your defenses easily." Jake picked up the communication microphone and spoke in the same calm voice he had been using. "Captain Vextar, you have now fired weapons at a human vessel after being given fair warning. You were cautioned about this course of action." Please note that everything that happens from this point forward is the direct result of your own choices." He put down the microphone and looked at his crew. Lisa was ready at her console with her hands hovering over several controls. Amy was monitoring multiple communication channels, and her distress beacon was doing something much more sophisticated than calling for help. Ben's emergency engine procedures were apparently ready to activate. "Well," Jake said, "I guess we gave them every chance to reconsider. Amy, activate jamming protocol. Lisa, begin tactical positioning. Ben, bring all systems online." The New Horizon was about to show Captain Vextar and his crew exactly why attacking human ships was considered a poor life choice throughout the galaxy. What happened next would be talked about in pirate bars and criminal hideouts for years to come. The cargo freighter New Horizon began to change in ways that Captain Vexatar and his crew had never seen before. The first thing that happened was that several of the large cargo containers on the outside of the ship began to move. These containers had looked like normal storage units for farming equipment, but now they were detaching from the main hull and floating free in space around the New Horizon. "What are those containers doing?" Scaroth asked from his position at the weapons console of the Blood Talon. Captain Vextar stared at the main screen as the containers continued to separate from the human ship. "I do not know. Maybe their cargo is breaking loose because of our weapons fire." But then the containers began to unfold like metal flowers opening their petals. Each container split into several sections that rearranged themselves into a completely different shape. Within seconds, what had been cargo containers were now clearly military drones equipped with weapons and sensor arrays. "Those are not cargo containers," Scaroth said in a voice that had suddenly become much quieter. The drones spread out in a defensive formation around the New Horizon, and their weapons began to charge with blue energy. There were 8 drones total, and each one was about the size of a small fighter craft. They moved with precision and coordination that showed they were being controlled by sophisticated computer systems. But the drones were not the only surprise that the New Horizon had in store for the pirates. Sections of the ship's hull began to slide away like puzzle pieces being rearranged. Underneath the fake hull plating were weapon systems that had been completely hidden from the pirate ship's sensors. Laser cannon arrays emerged from concealed positions along the sides of the ship. Missile launchers rose up from what had appeared to be normal cargo bay doors. A large energy weapon that looked like it could punch holes through battle cruisers extended from the front of the ship, where it had been disguised as part of the navigation deflector. "This is impossible," Captain Vextar said, as he watched the human freighter transform into what was obviously a military vessel. "Our sensors showed this was just a cargo ship with basic systems." On the bridge of the New Horizon, Lisa was now working at what was clearly a tactical control station. The navigation console had reconfigured itself to show detailed information about the pirate ship's weapons, shields, and engine systems. She was tracking the movement of the drones and coordinating their positions for maximum effectiveness. "All drones are in position and ready to engage," Lisa reported to Jake. "Target analysis is complete." Amy's communication station had also changed into something much more sophisticated than a simple radio setup. She was now monitoring multiple frequencies and had access to jamming systems that were preventing the pirates from calling for help. Her innocent distress beacon had become a powerful electronic warfare tool. "Jamming is effective across all frequencies," Amy said. "They cannot contact any other ships or bases." Ben's voice came through the intercom from the engineering section, and he sounded much more professional than he had during their earlier conversations. "All weapon systems are online and ready. Power output is at maximum efficiency. Emergency. Protocols are fully activated. Jake stood up from his captain's chair and looked at the main screen where the Blood Talon was still sitting in front of them. The pirate ship looked much smaller and less threatening now that the New Horizon had revealed her true nature. "Captain Vextar," Jake said into the communication microphone, "you are now facing 8 autonomous defense drones and the full weapon systems of a human patrol vessel. Your ship is outgunned, outmaneuvered, and cut off from any outside help. I strongly recommend that you surrender immediately." The response from the pirate captain was exactly what Jake had expected. "This is a trick. You cannot hide weapon systems from our sensors. This is some kind of holographic deception. Lisa, please demonstrate that our weapons are quite real," Jake said calmly. Lisa's fingers moved over her tactical controls, and one of the drones fired a precise burst of laser energy. The beam struck one of the Blood Talon's weapon turrets and completely destroyed it in a flash of sparks and melting metal. The pirate ship shook from the impact, and alarm sounds could be heard through the open communication channel. "That was a warning shot," Jake announced. "The next shots will target your engines and life support systems. You have 30 seconds to power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded." Captain Vextar was finally beginning to understand that he had made a serious mistake. The ship he had thought was a helpless cargo freighter was actually a sophisticated, military vessel that had been designed to look like civilian transport. Every system on the New Horizon had been built to deceive potential attackers until it was too late for them to escape. "How is this possible?" Vextar asked through the communication channel. "You are supposed to be carrying farming equipment to a colony." "We are carrying farming equipment," Jake replied. That part was completely true. But the New Horizon serves multiple purposes for the human government. We protect shipping lanes while also delivering legitimate cargo to frontier colonies. 2. More of the drones moved into position near the Blood Talon's engine section, while the others spread out to cover all possible escape routes. The main weapons on the New Horizon were now trained on the pirate ship and ready to fire. "The farming equipment is real and the colony is expecting it," Jake continued. "But we also hunt pirates who threaten civilian shipping. You just happened to pick the wrong cargo ship to attack." Scaroth looked at his captain with fear in his reptilian eyes. "Captain, our weapons cannot penetrate their shields, and those drones can destroy us piece by piece. We should surrender before they decide to stop being merciful." Captain Vextar stared at the human ship and realized that everything he had heard about human military tactics was true. Humans did not build massive battle fleets like other species. Instead, they preferred deception and misdirection. They made their military vessels look like civilian ships so that enemies would not know what they were facing until it was too late. "Human Captain," Vextar said in a much more respectful voice, "we surrender. We will power down our weapons and submit to boarding." "A wise decision," Jake replied. "Lisa, maintain targeting locks, but do not fire unless they try to run or fight. Amy, prepare the boarding party. Ben, get ready to receive prisoners." The trap had been sprung perfectly, and the pirates were now completely helpless. The New Horizon had done exactly what she was designed to do. She had appeared to be an easy target until the moment when her true nature was revealed. The boarding operation went smoothly because the pirates had completely lost their will to fight. Captain Vextar and his crew of 12 Cytherians were transferred to the New Horizon's holding cells without any resistance. The cells were surprisingly comfortable with proper beds, clean facilities, and regular meals provided by automated systems. Jake met with the captured pirate captain in one of the holding areas to explain what would happen next. Vextar sat on his bunk looking confused and defeated. He kept staring at Jake as if he could not believe that a human cargo captain had outsmarted him so completely. "I do not understand how this is possible," Vextar said. "Our intelligence report said that human cargo ships were lightly defended and easy targets. We have attacked dozens of ships from other species without any problems." Jake pulled up a chair and sat down across from the pirate captain. He wanted to help Vextar understand why attacking human ships was such a dangerous mistake. Maybe if the pirates learned something from this experience, they would choose a different career path in the future. "The problem with your intelligence reports is that they only told you part of the story," Jake said. "Yes, we have cargo ships that are lightly defended, but we also have cargo ships that are heavily defended. The trick is that you cannot tell which type you are dealing with until it is too late." Vextar shook his head in frustration. "But why would you disguise military ships as cargo vessels? Other species clearly mark their warships so that everyone knows what they are. Because humans think about warfare differently than most other species," Jake explained. "We learned long ago that the best way to win a fight is to make sure your enemy does not know they are in a fight until you have already won." Jake stood up and walked over to look out the small window in the holding cell. Through the transparent aluminum, they could see stars and the distant glow of Haven Prime, where the New Horizon was still heading to deliver her cargo. "Every human ship in space has the potential to be something other than what it appears to be," Jake continued. "Some of our cargo ships are exactly what they look like. Others are disguised patrol vessels like the New Horizon. Some of our passenger liners are actually troop transports. Some of our research ships are really intelligence-gathering platforms." Vextar was beginning to understand the scope of the problem he had stumbled into. "So any human ship we attack might be a trap?" "That is exactly right," Jake said. "And word spreads quickly through the criminal networks about what happens to pirates who attack human vessels. Most smart criminals learned years ago to avoid human ships completely." At that moment, Amy's voice came through the intercom system. "Captain, I am picking up communications from several other ships in this sector. It sounds like news of our encounter is already spreading." Jake activated the intercom in the holding cell so that Vextar could hear what was happening. Amy had intercepted radio messages between different pirate and smuggling groups in the area. The first message was from a captain named Rixcar, who commanded a raider ship called the Star Ripper. "All units, avoid the shipping lane near Haven Prime. The humans have another one of their ghost ships operating in that area. The Blood Talon tried to take a cargo freighter and got completely destroyed." Another voice responded from a different ship. "Destroyed? What kind of weapons did the humans have?" "Unknown. But the Blood Talon just disappeared from our sensors. No distress signals, no debris, nothing. Stay away from human ships until we know what happened." Jake smiled as he listened to the pirates spreading rumors about the encounter. The truth was that the Blood Talon had not been destroyed, but the pirates did not know that. Fear and uncertainty would keep them away from human shipping lanes much more effectively than actual destruction would. A third voice joined the conversation between the pirate ships. "I told you we should not operate in human space. My cousin tried to board a human passenger liner last year, and it turned out to be full of soldiers. They captured his entire crew and sent them to a rehabilitation center." "Rehabilitation center?" the first voice asked. "The humans do not execute pirates like other species do. They try to retrain them for honest work. My cousin now operates a legitimate shipping business and says he makes more money than he ever did as a pirate." Vextar looked surprised when he heard this part of the conversation. "You do not execute pirates?" Jake shook his head. Humans prefer to solve problems rather than just eliminate them. Most pirates turn to crime because they do not have better options for making a living. We provide job training, education, and legitimate employment opportunities. The pirate captain thought about this for several minutes. What will happen to me and my crew? You will be taken to a Galactic Authority station where you will be processed and charged with your crimes, Jake explained. Then you will be offered a choice. You can serve your prison sentence in a standard facility, or you can enter a rehabilitation program that will train you for legitimate work. What kind of work? Vextar asked. Cargo handling, ship maintenance, security services, mining, operations, agricultural work. Basically any job that lets you use your existing skills in legal ways. Many former pirates become excellent security guards because they know how criminals think and operate. Amy's voice came through the intercom again. Captain, I am monitoring at least 6 different pirate ships leaving this sector. Word is definitely spreading about what happened here. Jake was pleased to hear this news. The whole purpose of the New Horizons mission was to make piracy unprofitable and dangerous in human shipping lanes. Every pirate ship that decided to operate somewhere else meant that legitimate cargo vessels could travel safely. Ben, Jake called through the intercom, how are the repairs to our disguise systems coming along? Almost finished, Captain. Ben replied from the engineering section. Give me another hour and we will look like a normal cargo freighter again. Jake turned back to Vextar. Within a few hours, the New Horizon will look exactly like she did when you first scanned us. The next pirates who see us will think we are an easy target, just like you did. The captured pirate captain finally seemed to understand the full scope of what had happened to him. This was all planned. You were hoping that pirates would attack you. We were prepared for the possibility, Jake said. The farming equipment we are carrying is real and the colony needs it. But if pirates decided to attack us along the way, we were ready to deal with them appropriately. And you always give warnings before you fight? Always, Jake confirmed. Humans believe in giving people a chance to make better choices. We warned you that attacking a human vessel was a poor life choice. You chose not to listen to that warning. Vextar sat quietly for a long time thinking about everything he had learned. Finally, he looked up at Jake with something that might have been respect in his reptilian eyes. You were right, he said. It was a very poor life choice. 3 days later at Starport 7, the story of the New Horizons' encounter with the Blood Talon had already become legend in the criminal underground. The details grew more dramatic with each telling as smugglers and pirates shared the tale. In dark corners of bars and trading posts, Captain Rex Bolton sat at a table in the Red Nebula Cantina listening to the latest version of the story from a Thraxian smuggler named Kelvox. According to Kelvox, the human cargo ship had been equipped with invisible weapons that could destroy entire fleets without being detected. That is complete nonsense, said Kate Sullivan, who was sitting across from Rex at their table. Kate was the chief mechanic for Rex's smuggling vessel, Lucky Strike, and she had little patience for exaggerated stories. My brother Pete serves on a human exploration ship, and he tells me about their real capabilities. They do not have invisible superweapons. Rex took a drink from his glass and shook his head. The story gets bigger every time someone tells it. Yesterday I heard that the human ship destroyed 6 pirate vessels. Last week it was 3 ships. Tomorrow it will probably be a whole pirate fleet. Kate leaned forward and lowered her voice, so that other people in the cantina could not hear her. But Pete did tell me something interesting about how human ships really work. He says that you never know what you are actually looking at when you see a human vessel. What do you mean? Rex asked. Pete's exploration ship looks like a normal science vessel from the outside, Kate explained. But it also carries enough firepower to fight off a battlecruiser if necessary. The humans build all their ships to serve multiple purposes. Another voice joined their conversation as Danny Walsh slid into an empty chair at their table. Danny was an information broker who sold news and rumors to anyone willing to pay for them. He made a living by knowing things that other people did not know. I can confirm that the New Horizons story is mostly true, Danny said quietly. I have contacts in the Galactic Authority who processed the captured pirates. There really was a human cargo ship that defeated a Catherian raider without taking any damage. Rex was interested now because Danny's information was usually accurate. What really happened? Danny looked around to make sure no one else was listening, and then spoke, in a whisper. The human ship was disguised as a normal freighter, but it was actually a patrol vessel. When the pirates attacked, the ship revealed hidden weapons and captured the entire crew. No shots were fired after the initial warning. No shots fired, Kate asked. Then how did they capture the pirates? Fear, Danny said simply. Once the pirates saw what they were really facing, they surrendered immediately. The humans gave them a choice between fighting and dying or surrendering and living. The pirates chose to live. Rex thought about this information while he finished his drink. The story made sense when Danny told it because it matched what he knew about human psychology. Humans were famous throughout the galaxy for being unpredictable in combat situations. The interesting part is what happened to the pirates after they were captured, Danny continued. The Galactic Authority offered them rehabilitation instead of execution. Most of them chose to enter job training programs. Kate nodded when she heard this. That sounds like something humans would do. Pete says they prefer to solve problems rather than just eliminate threats. At that moment, the conversation at nearby tables suddenly became much quieter. Rex looked around and saw that a human had entered the cantina. The man was wearing the uniform of a civilian cargo officer, and he looked completely harmless, but every criminal in the room was now watching him carefully. The human walked to the bar and ordered a drink without paying any attention to the suspicious looks he was receiving. Rex noticed that several of the smugglers and pirates in the cantina finished their drinks quickly and left without talking to anyone. That is exactly what I am talking about, Danny whispered. 6 months ago, nobody would have cared about one human cargo officer in a place like this. Now everyone is nervous because they do not know if he is really just a cargo officer or if he is something more dangerous. Kate watched as more people left the cantina. The reputation effect is working exactly like the humans planned it. What reputation effect? Rex asked. My brother explained it to me, Kate said. The humans do not need to have weapons hidden on every ship. They just need criminals to think that every ship might have hidden weapons. Fear and uncertainty work better than actual force. Danny nodded in agreement. I have been tracking piracy statistics in human shipping lanes for the past 2 years. Attacks on human vessels have decreased by 70% during that time period. Most pirate groups have simply moved to other areas of space. Rex looked at the human cargo officer who was still standing at the bar. The man looked like he could barely fight off an angry house cat. But everyone in the cantina was treating him like he might be a dangerous special forces soldier in disguise. So we are all afraid of cargo officers now? Rex asked. We are cautious around anything that might be more than it appears to be, Kate corrected. That is just smart business practice when dealing with humans. The human at the bar finished his drink and walked out of the cantina without speaking to anyone. As soon as he was gone, the noise level in the room returned to normal and people began talking again. Danny chuckled and shook his head. Poor guy probably has no idea that his presence just cleared out half the criminals in this place. He is probably really just a cargo officer delivering farming equipment to some colony. Or maybe he is a patrol officer disguised as a cargo officer who was checking to see what kind of criminal activity is happening at this station, Kate suggested. That is exactly the problem, Rex said. We have no way of knowing which possibility is true. The humans have made it impossible to tell the difference between their civilian ships and their military ships. Danny stood up to leave and dropped a few credits on the table to pay for his drink. The smart criminals have already learned to avoid human ships completely. The stupid ones keep attacking and getting captured or killed. Natural selection is improving the quality of criminals in this galaxy. After Danny left, Rex and Kate sat quietly for several minutes, thinking about what they had learned. The Lucky Strike was scheduled to make a cargo run through human space next week, and Rex was beginning to have second thoughts about that plan. Maybe we should find a different route for our next job, Rex said finally. Kate nodded in agreement. Pete always says that the humans give fair warning before they demonstrate their capabilities. The problem is that most criminals do not listen to warnings. What kind of warnings do they give? Usually something polite but clear, Kate said, like telling you that attacking a human vessel is generally considered a poor life choice. Rex laughed despite his nervousness. That sounds like something a human would say right before they completely destroyed your ship. Exactly, Kate said, and now everyone in the galaxy knows that when a human gives you that kind of warning, you should probably listen to it. Reputation of human unpredictability had spread throughout the criminal networks faster than any military fleet could have traveled. Every pirate and smuggler in the galaxy now knew that human ships were dangerous to attack, even when they looked completely harmless. The New Horizon had delivered her cargo to Haven Prime without any further incidents, and was now preparing for her next mission. Captain Jake Morrison and his crew had proven once again that the most effective weapon in space was not a laser cannon or a missile launcher. It was a reputation for being more dangerous than you appeared to be.